Like I said, I'm Ryan Prather. I'm a lieutenant at Station 2 on C shift. So all of us are from Station 2, which is on Wilson Pike there, your local fire station. We run two companies out of there, which is why there's 5 of us here. I've been with the department for 12 years now. It's 12 years this month. I'm originally from outside of the Chicagoland area, but I've enjoyed every bit of my time being here. And next I have Engineer Chris Mosley. And Momo, how long have you been here now?
I've been here almost 19 years.
Momo's been here 19 years. And we have Brian Marshall. Brian, how long have you been here now? Brian's been here for almost 3. He's the firefighter. And then we have Engineer Robin Thorpe. 7. Robin's been here for 7 years. And then, of course, Charles in the front row. How long have you been here now, Charles?
5 wonderful
5 wonderful years. Perfect. Awesome. Charles is also an engineer. And just to clarify, we have 5 stations here in Brentwood. We just opened our 5th one in December, and that one is down on the southeast side. And so, does anybody know, besides the one on Wilson Pike that's closest to you, where another Brentwood fire station is? Yes, sir.
No, don't ask him.
Well, he can give one. It's okay, all right. Go ahead.
Right downtown Brentwood.
Downtown Brentwood, 5211 Maryland Way. Yes, sir. Split Log Road. Yes, indeed. That's the brand new one. Station 5. Sunset. Good. Station 4. There's one more.
It's hidden.
It's kind of hidden. We have one on General George Patton, which is way on the south side. You can literally see the Franklin city limits from the front door. So we got all of our areas covered. So just to give you a little perspective, obviously we have 5 stations. We have 70 line personnel. So that means we have 70 people that work shift work. So 70 people like us that are on the trucks running the calls. And then we have 2 division chiefs who work Monday through Friday. One is Chief Pender, who some of you might have met. He's the fire marshal, so he is in charge of all of our education outreach. And so October is his big time of year because October is Fire Prevention Month. So Chief Pender is in charge of scheduling all those education events, and he also does a lot of plans review, which is something that many people might not know. Is he's looking through, he proves every single building that gets put up in Brentwood to make sure that it's fire safe and it's accessible for us to get to. And then we also have another division chief, Nick Adams, who is the training officer. We, as a department, complete thousands of hours of training every year to try to keep up with all the different changes in technology and building construction and just trying to maintain our best practices. And then we have our deputy chief, Chief Collins. He's the chief of operations, and then the fire chief, which is Brian Goss. So it's kind of a brief overview of what our command structure looks like. As far as the shift, each station has a lieutenant, and then each shift has a battalion chief that's over the whole shift. I'm not talking about the history yet, come on. Momo's going to talk to us about the history of the department here in a second. So last year, just for reference, we ran just over 4,300 calls. Our call volume goes up steadily each year, which is why we expand and build a 5th station, and we try to adjust that call volume as it increases every year. But now, Mosley, I'm going to give you the opportunity now that you've been
Thank you.
chomping at the bit for it. Mosley's going to talk about the history of the fire department.
Yeah, so it's really ironic that we chose firefighting as a profession because we can run into a burning building and face pretty bad situations through our training, but we get up before groups like you, sometimes we get a little nervous. Our combat challenge, we get a little nervous. So I've always been told when you're a little nervous, started off with a joke, which was what I wanted these guys to do. I wanted to do dad jokes all the way through, but they said, no, I'm going to throw one out anyways, just to break the ice. What does 2,000 pounds of Chinese soup weigh? Anyone? 1 ton, yes, good job. These guys have heard it plenty, so yeah, good. You got another one you want to share with us? You're versed on them, I bet. Yes, I'm firefighter, Engineer Mosley. Been with the city now for almost 19 years. talking about our, there's just been a lot of changes. I've been here that long, and it's been a lot of changes. The city had, they've had a form service now, fire service now for, since 1986. There's a lot of changes happened since then. Our command structure being one of them, as Ryan alluded to a little bit. When we started off, it was just a chief, and he said, no, we're not going to change. I'm the chief. I've always been the chief. I'm not going to have anyone challenging me. And he did just that. He maintained that all the way through. But just like any good organization, you do have to be able to change, except when you're wrong, and challenge ourselves, and we've absolutely done that. We've had a lot of opportunity to do so. We brought on during the recession, hit in 08. We had a lot of changes to really take place during that. Beforehand, we didn't have as much growth as we did from 1986. In 1986, counted up, it was somewhere around command staff and firefighters included, there was about 30 individuals that came on. And 1986 was our station, even though it's Station 2, was the first true fire station that was in the city. Prior to that, it was a trailer that was over there off of Church Street next to the old funeral home. And it was what was referred to as a subscription service. What that is just like all smaller cities, which is what Brentwood was, not anything like it is today. With a subscription service, you have to start somewhere, and sometimes the funds aren't always available. So it's a paid service. You pay in your monthly dues, your quarterly dues, biannually, however you do it, annual. And then your number's put on the list. If you have need for the fire service, then you call us. Fortunately, it's not that way anymore. In 1986, that all changed. We have the station we're in now, probably the most character of any station. Love being there, and I think everyone else would say likewise. It's center of the city, so we get to back all of the other apparatus up, all the other stations around the city. So I love that we're centrally located because we get to do a little bit of everything. We have the train tracks, we have the interstate, structure fires, what have you, from residential to commercial. Shortly after that, Station 1 was built. I think that was 1989. That was the one of you stated, Maryland Way. I think that was you, right there in what you call downtown. That one was put in. It stayed that way until Station 3 put in on George Patton. And that one was, I say, 92. Preceding that, they were on 8-hour days. So we had 3 shifts, and they would work 8 hours, and the next shift was 8 hours, and the next shift was 8 hours. And that was 7 days a week, so there was not a day off. And that, I can't imagine, I think that would be a pretty miserable time, but they did that for a few years. And then they transitioned to what we call 24/48. Since there's 3 shifts, you break that down over 3 days. So shift 1 would be A shift, shift 2 would be B shift, shift 3 would be C shift, which is what we are. We were still doing that when I came in. We still had the 24/48. And then we had Station 4 that came in 02, and that's the one on Sunset Road that someone called out. And that was a really nice station. Still is a really nice station. They've done a really good job of keeping it up. Much like the crews here keep this place up. We're really happy with coming in here and seeing everything pretty much the same as it was from the day it was built. I had the good fortune to watch this place go up, and we did a lot of trainings out here, a lot of walkthroughs, watching it being constructed, and I can say that y'all done a wonderful job keeping that going. But shortly after that, there was a lull, and the lull happened for the recession. It slowed everything down, and just like every new budding business organization, that proved to be a pretty good thing. Despite the complications, Brentwood did well with making sure that our jobs weren't threatened. They ensured us daily that you guys are good. You're taken care of. We're not going to lay off one of you. And that's good because it gives you the reassurance that I can take care of my family. So I'm really happy from that regard to be here at Brentwood. They did take really good care of us. But in that slow growth time, right there before it worked out really good in our favor. Our old chief was on his way out, and the new chief, which we still have today, Brian Goss, he stepped into the role. And so much change has happened. He had a plan of how he wanted to grow. Started the envisionment for Station 5 that's out there. One of you pointed out Station 5. Might have been you, Ryan. The new station that just came on this year. Before that, I did not have anyone, I didn't have seniority, no one underneath me really. If they did, they were on a different shift. But once we started coming out of that recession, the growth just started happening, just like you do, just like you see with the rest of the city, houses being built, whatnot. Gave us that time to slow down though. We went to what's called a 4896. Can you guys imagine being here for 2 days straight to work here? 48 hours. Yeah, right? Yeah, shake your head no. You need a break, right? But it's good because we all work together, we're family. Brothers and sisters. We have what we like to tell our chief, he's our dad. He keeps us all in line. We like to carry on and cut up from time to time. But we come in here, we work together, we have beds there at the station, so we sleep, we have some sleep time, we train hard together, we laugh, we tell dad jokes together, and we have bad calls sometimes, we cry together, but that's a third of our life. So it's family to us, and we all certainly appreciate each other to lean on the hard times and laugh in the good times.
Who's the better cook?
If I'm going to pick one out right now, I'm going to put a fight between the two, and they're in this room. You have Charles that does a good job, and you have Marshall over here that does a really good job as well. And I'm going to let them fight it out and figure out which one's the best cook, because I can't single one out. Consistently, I would have to go with Marshall, though. But they both go. I'm not singling out. I say consistently. You're both good cooks. So, well, Robin, I've never had Robin's cooking that I know of.
I'm on a different shift.
She's on a different shift. I'm sure you do well, though. So, a few more things. We have what's called an urban growth boundary. During the recession, that allowed us time to also, we went into slow growth. We could sit back. The chiefs did a really good job of figuring out, okay, where's our next station going to go? Where's the population growing and extending to? And that's where Station 5 came up. And we actually do have room. I doubt I'll see it in my career, but we do have room for a Station 6 out. General direction, if that's where they end up with it. A lot can change by then. We've changed in the manner of calls that we have. It used to be under the old subscription service or volunteer service, especially the volunteer service of old. The towns were small, they'd shut down. You'd have the Floyd the barber, and then you'd have the grocery store clerk, the bank manager, they'd close their business, and they were all on part of the volunteer service. Those are days gone by with the age of commuting into Nashville from Franklin and vice versa. You have a long travel time. And it's really hard for volunteer services to get anyone to come full-time during the day, during the work hours, to do that type of work and put their lives on hold for. So they saw the need for us to transition to that 24/48 on into 48/96. Benefits of the 48/96. 48/96 is what I was telling these guys. We're here for those 2 days, but then we have a wonderful 4 days off. That 4 days off really allows us to decompress. When we're on 24/48 and we worked a bad call, we really needed that time to decompress that next day. And then we only really had 1 more day with our family. So this gives us that true downtime. We sleep more time wake up more time in our own bed, more time to decompress, less health issues associated with such. Being here for that amount of time gives the city a benefit where we come in, we do some of our duties where we used to do them each day we came in, the shift would do the same duties. Now we do those less, checking off the trucks, all the equipment. It just gives us more time to focus on our training, more times out in the community, and it really works out good for us. I'm happy with it. We had 52 people vote on it back when we did it, and 51 after a 1-year trial time of it. 51 of them actually said, yeah, let's do this. I like it. We did it for a full 1-year trial to give all the seasons, and they loved it. So as hard as I do, to get anyone to vote the same way, thumbs up or thumbs down on anything is next to impossible. And the one holdout, he complained about everything anyways. We're all first responders. Some of us sought a little more training. EMT, myself, Ryan, and Robin down here are both medics. You have Marshall and Charles, EMTs. Marshall, I'm going to put you on the pedestal, buddy. Just finished up his class. To be a medic, he has one more challenge ahead of him, and that is the National Registry. but did well in the class, and we're excited about having him on as a medic. So good job, Marshall. The last thing I want to touch on is I'll reiterate a little bit. We are all medical based because as the fire service changed, we had to change as well. We're fortunate, we're very blessed to have a decreased amount of fires here in Brentwood. I like to say because the building standards, our codes department does a good job, but I also like to say that we do a good job in fire prevention, getting out, informing the community, teaching the children at a young age how to respond to fires, how to prevent fires. We make a lot of good efforts in doing so. And I'd like to say that we make a difference in that response. But nonetheless, we do have a lot of BLS calls and ALS calls. BLS being basic, again, myself, EMT, the other couple here being ALS, which is medic. And that's what the EMS units do. EMS units do the same job we do, carry a couple of more drugs, but we have more of us than they do of them. We both operate under the Williamson Medical Center license, and we do a pretty good job of handling when they can't get there in a timely manner, since there's more of us. ISO and accreditation. During that downturn, we started focusing on some accreditation. Your insurance premiums here in the city are lower. We're an ISO 2, which allows us to give you a better service. We're constantly struggling, but getting there slowly but surely to an ISO 1. I hope to see that in my career. That's just a better insurance premium. And we became accredited. Were we the first small, you guys can correct me, the first smaller agency in Tennessee to have that rating? And if not the first smaller agency, Metro I think had it. So again, that's putting it up to the guys up top and all the other people that were in charge. In doing so, it changes us and makes us grow to hit a better rating, so that we can have a better insurance rating. So moving on, I'm done talking, guys. I know they know I love to talk. We have Brian Marshall.
All right, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the different calls we go on here at Brentwood. As a fire department, we do a variety of different calls, and it's slowly been increasing every year. I don't know if any of y'all were paying attention to Lieutenant Prather, but does anyone remember how many calls we went on last year here at Brentwood? Yeah, so 4,341 calls. It was the first time we've broken 4,000, I believe. Yeah. About almost 2,600 of those were medical calls, more than half. And those range anywhere from someone who's just been feeling sick for a few days and wants to go to the hospital and get checked out, all the way to a CPR in progress. And if you didn't already know this, we have a whole compartment on the engine we can show you if you go out there, filled with different medical gear, all the same stuff that they carry on an ambulance, so that we can help when we get there. And for more serious calls, a lot of times we'll send 2 fire engines instead of just 1. We went on 99 calls for fire last year. Those include house fires, vehicles, dumpsters, brush fires. And just like the medical gear, we carry a variety of different hoses, different vehicles, and just different tools to help us attack the different fires that we get. We went on 681 false alarm calls, residential and commercial fire alarms that went off due to malfunction, low batteries, smoke but no fire, things like that. And then we also went on 942 other calls that involved hazmat or motor vehicle accidents, with or without entrapment, lift assist, someone falling down needed help up, elevator entrapment, being locked in or out of your car, things like that. Just here at the Heritage this year, we've run a total of 2,254 calls. So that's okay, so that's a debatable number, but the 1,642 of those were medical calls, 223 fire alarms, and 87 other calls involving lift assist, being locked out, elevator rescues, and we also responded to 8 calls for fire gear, which were related to cooking, vehicle, brush, HVAC fires, things like that. That took a total of 2,254 man hours. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, it was from 2011 to 2023. Misread that, sorry. I just saw the January and June. But yeah, I guess I'll end on that, Charles. If you want to.
Give it up for Brian.
Thanks, Brian. That was great. I'm going to sit out here with you guys, if you don't mind. So, obviously, we're throwing a lot of information at you. Lieutenant Prather told us yesterday that we were coming out to talk to you and asked me to talk about obstacles. And one of those obstacles is communication. He gave us a piece of paper and he said, don't read off of this. Obviously, Brian didn't get that memo. So, Engineer Mosley talked about this. We're brothers and sisters in the fire service. We like to give each other a hard time. We're together for 48 hours. We see some of the hardest things. So by show of hands, who here knows someone that we've responded to, not personally, but the department or the police department has responded to? Well, look around. We encounter you guys on a regular basis, or your friends or your family. We are the same as you. We just took up a different calling to come out and respond to you. But as each generation changes, so does communication. And that's one of the obstacles that we deal with, is as we work with the next generation, and we've got 2 different generations here, but we have 3 different generations that work within the fire department now. So we've got Gen Xers, Millennials, and Gen Z. Obviously, y'all are the greatest generation ever. But the generation that's beneath you has problems because you guys taught them. And same thing for us, is we hand down different issues and different problems. So, you guys all remember a game called Simon Says? So, for those of you that can stand, that are easily mobile, please stand. We're gonna play a game called Dispatch Says. Is that okay? So, when we get a 911 call, you, your family, or the citizens of Brentwood call dispatch. And then dispatch calls us. And then we respond with information that you're given, or that they're given, excuse me. So, the key here is gonna be dispatch says. So you can remain seated for now. But dispatch says, raise your left hand. Higher. Dispatch didn't say raise it higher, you're out. See? So communication is key. Now, if I speed that up and I say, dispatch says put your left hand down. Dispatch says put your right hand up. Dispatch says put your right hand down. Put your left hand up. See, you see how panic or fast talking can change how we communicate. So that's one thing that we deal with, is if we're panicked when we call 911, which we usually are because it's a life-threatening situation. We wouldn't be calling 911 for a pizza, although that'd be awesome. But he'd probably get the order wrong anyway. That's a dispatch joke. When we're panicked, we can't think clearly. And therefore, dispatch relays information to us differently when you guys are panicked. Again, I stated we're all human beings. Dispatch is human beings. They just don't get to see what's going on. We get to arrive on scene. We get to use our eyes and all of our senses to feel and see and touch what is going on. So if I ask you to close your eyes, that changes how you're going to have to listen. Also, I see some cell phones in the room. It's good to know that us millennials aren't the only ones who are attached to our phones. But communication has changed in that way. So with the invention of cell phones, we no longer have connection to a landline from a 911 call. So one thing you and other citizens have to relay to us is exact location information. Because a cell phone now just pings off of a tower. It doesn't give us an exact location and exact address. So when we give these speeches to youngsters, kindergartners and first graders every October during Fire Safety Month, we teach them when you call 911, know your phone number, know your address, know your name, parent's name, and be able to give that to dispatch so that we know in case of a hang-up where we're going to respond to or what kind of the nature of the call is. So that's something to be very cognizant of when we are calling 911, is that we're giving them the correct location. Now the next thing, obviously, how we speak to each other. Old English Testament versus New Translation versus how Engineer Mosley speaks to us versus how these young kids talk in slang. And Robin and I were joking on the way over, if I told you something and then I said no cap after it, does anyone know what that means? No. Most of us think hats. When I first heard it, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. It means true, or I won't say the actual translation of it. Lieutenant wouldn't like that. Dirty words. Anyway, so those are just some of the communication obstacles that we deal with. Now, once we actually respond from the station, the world changes completely. We're in the safety of our bubble at the station. But when we leave, we start to encounter different things. So we've had newly autonomous vehicles on the road, electrical vehicles, which are a new hazard that we respond to. It changes how we put out a vehicle fire. These lithium batteries that these cars are powered on can get very hot, and when they ignite, they can burn for days on end. So we have to adapt and change, as these guys have stated earlier, to new and upcoming technology. So that's just something that we deal with on a general basis. So as vehicles have gotten quieter, more soundproof, you can't hear the sirens as we approach. As engines have gotten faster, we can outrun the sound or the siren that we're putting out. But also, autonomous vehicles don't know how to get out of the way of fire engines. Also, with the invention of light changing systems, we are now implementing a new system at several stoplights in the city that as we get a call, dispatch is able to clear through AI technology, clear roadways and clear intersections in highly trafficked areas. So Mr. McClendon, sorry to call you out by name, mentioned Station 1. Station 1 at 1 a.m. has a very different traffic pattern from Station 1 from 3 to about 5:30. Maryland Way will get backed up from Franklin Road all the way back to Station 1, depending on how those lights are running. So that's new technology that we're implementing to cut down our response time so that we can get to you faster, because seconds count in our industry. But some of the greatest lessons that we can learn are from you all when we're on scene. We have a chance to interact with the community. We love when people stop by and share stories of ways that they've been impacted or ways that their family has been impacted, because it lets us know that we're making a difference, because that's why we got into this. Engineer Mosley talked about the greatness of our department and our structure, especially in Brentwood as a city, of keeping our jobs safe and secure, and that's awesome to have in times. But none of us got into firefighting and EMS for the safety of the position. It's so that we can help people. And we want to remind you that we're just the same as you. We get panicked, we just have a little bit of higher training. And most of us deal with things well, but we all lean on each other as much as we lean on you. So stop by the station, come see us, tell us a story. Brian doesn't have anything going on right now, so he's volunteered to cook because he's the greatest cook, and would love to sit with you all and learn everything you have to teach them.
Thank you for admitting that.
Right? I would, always. Brian's come a long way. When he first started cooking, I didn't think he could actually cook macaroni in a box, but he's gotten better.
It's always.
Thank you guys very, very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I just want to touch on a few things. Remember, when you need help, pull that E-cord. Also remember that the security that has the phone, they're required to do rounds in the parking garages and everywhere. I can tell you, cell phones are a blessing, but cell phones are a curse. When you need one, chances are you're going to be in the dead zone. It's not going to work. I do know that right here, around this curve marking where the door is, there's no cell service right there. There's no cell service in this first parking spot right here in the parking lot. So I've been here enough where I've been on the phone where my phone goes dead while I'm on it. So that's why we all kind of know where our dead spots are. With that being said, remember, like you said, communication. If you're calling security for an e-call, pull that e-call. That e-call is going to go through every time. That cell phone, it may not go through. They may be in a spot and they can't get your telephone call. Okay? So just remember that. Remember safety. Remember, make sure things are picked up in your home when you go to bed at night. Don't leave things out. Don't leave stuff laying around. Because I always do the fire drill training in Summerfield, and I tell them, you do it from there's things that we have that we've learned from the mistakes of the past. And for example, fire codes means like in Summerfield, that's why there's nothing in the hallways. If it was engulfed in smoke, these guys could get in and go down that hallway without having to trip over tables and chairs and walkers and all that sort of thing. So that's why there's things there for that. Just like strobes, a lot of people wonder, well, why is the strobes flickering? I hear the fire alarm just fine. Well, it's those people who don't hear is why we have strobes. Fire codes have been changed over the years because of all the mistakes that were made. And just like the fire alarm, when that fire alarm goes off and everybody's like, well, what? It's been going off for 15 minutes. We can't turn it off till these guys get here and they turn it off. That's the requirement. If I turn it off, then now all of you you're going to go back to bed. And now we've got to turn around and we've got to tell the whole place again that it's on fire when there was a fire. So that's why that fire alarm runs the period of time that it does. So if you ever wonder, that thing seemed like it went on forever, well, that's probably because it did. So just know that, okay? So the guys, they had the fire trucks outside. You can exit out this door here. We can go down the ramp. So if anybody wants to go out and see the fire trucks, they're here for you. Thank you for coming.